She stepped out of the shadows and did her best drunken tumble into the man. Giggling like an idiot, she twittered at him. "Oh, excuse me. Didn't see you there." She put her hand on the man's hip as she spoke, feeling a few coins in his purse. If she was lucky, they'd be silver and not copper. "Well, darling," the man breathed into her face. Lenore barely held her composure against the stench. "Now that you have, would you mind escorting me home? I seem to have lost track of my feet a bit." Lenore just giggled again. She needed that purse, so she let the man lean on her and began to teeter with him. "Stop right there," came a strong, commanding voice. Lenore's heart froze inside of her. They found her! Someone recognized her. This was it. Her new friend swung her around with him before she could do anything, though, so she found herself watching an enforcer stride toward them. She sized him up quickly. Young, probably just a few years older than she, which either made him overzealous or, more preferably, a bit of a pushover with the ladies. Too bad Lenore looked nothing like a lady at the moment. "Do you know this person, sir?" the enforcer demanded, looking at Lenore suspiciously. "Course, drunkie," as Lenore had named him in her head, blustered. "This here's me friend. She's walking me home." "What's her name?" the enforcer asked. "What's it matter?" Lenore was doing her best to look casual and unconcerned and inebriated, but she was pretty sure her pounding heart was giving her away. "It's a matter of security," the enforcer said sternly. "You enforcers and your security," the man said, suddenly angry. Lenore instinctively took a step away. Incriminating or no, angry drunks were dangerous. "We do just fine without your help," he spat. "Come on, love. He can't fight us both." Lenore very much wanted to point out the enforcer could probably fight them both 6 times over, but there was no time. Drunkie suddenly pulled a knife on the enforcer and lunged at him. She saw everything with an almost superhuman clarity. The enforcer's eyes suddenly filled with fear as he was charged by a stinking, drunken force of senseless rage. Lenore may have overestimated his age. He now looked as if he hadn't been in a fight his whole life. Fear turned to shock as the knife penetrated his flesh, and he turned his eyes on Lenore, begging. Things sped up from there. Drunkie staggered back from his target, looking incredibly smug for just a moment before violently puking onto his own feet. Without thinking, Lenore ran forward and caught the enforcer before he fell. "You need a doctor," she said stupidly. The enforcer made a terrible, strangled noise before saying, "Copper Quarter, near Times Apothecary." Lenore briefly wondered if he realized that no physician would be open at this hour, but she said nothing. Instead, she steered the enforcer around Drunkie, who was kneeling in his own vomit and heaving now, and began the long, terrifying walk. What was she doing? As soon as another enforcer spotted them, she'd be discovered. Why was she even helping this one? He'd been ready to shackle and drag her away to the halls of justice not minutes ago. She knew why. It was her fault. She'd been the reason he'd even approached the drunkard. If it hadn't been for her, he never would have gotten stabbed. Still, that didn't excuse her current stupidity. Thankfully, the enforcer said nothing as they walked the agonizingly slow path to Times Apothecary. Under normal circumstances, Lenore could get there in just a few minutes. Now, she wondered if her charge would bleed out before they even arrived. Arrive they did, however, and Lenore was elated when she saw a light in the window of the building next to the apothecary. This part of town was near the gardens and therefore nice enough for the petrol-scene lamps to still be lit. Lenore hung her head forward so that her face remained hidden behind her hair and planned to run as soon as the door opened. Surely no doctor would turn away an injured enforcer. Her part in this would be done, and she could go curl up in a safe, quiet, dark place, for a few days if need be. Lenore rapped on the door sharply, breathing fast until it opened. The door did open, but Lenore stood frozen to her spot. There in the doorway before her was Mina in a doctor's coat. "Good heavens!" Mina exclaimed at the sight before her. The fugitive from last month was there, with a badly bleeding enforcer. "Inside, on the table in the back," she said, taking command of the situation. She caught the hesitation in Lenore's eyes. The girl wanted to run, and she would, given the chance, so Mina didn't give it to her. "Now," she said in a tone that brooked no argument. Lenore staggered in with the enforcer, squinting at the brightness of the room. Petrol-scene sconces lined the walls here, outlining every detail of every object. This was very bad for Lenore. The enforcer had been getting weaker during the journey and leaning on Lenore more and more, so she was only too glad to unload him onto the metal table as Mina had instructed. "Camilla! Sutures! Room 1!" Mina called into the building.